Look, you probably made a budget last January. You tracked every single dollar. You color-coded your spreadsheets. You even downloaded some fancy app for it. And by March, you completely ghosted it. Don't beat yourself up. You're not lazy and you're not undisciplined. You're just a statistic. Get this. 74% of Americans who actively budget still can't even cover $1,000 in an emergency. I'm going to repeat that because it's honestly insane. 3 out of 4 people who do the supposedly responsible thing, who sit down, plan, and track their spending, still can't handle a single unexpected car repair without going into debt. The average budget app gets abandoned in just 86 days. Not because people are irresponsible, but because budgeting is fundamentally designed to fail. It's built on a psychological mechanism that scientists have proven runs out, like a battery that drains way faster the harder you push it. And the entire personal finance industry keeps selling you that dead battery and calling it discipline. That's not saving. That's just theater. And today we're burning the stage down. I'm Mason. On this channel, we strip away the financial noise and show you the real math and real psychology behind money. In episode 1, we expose the 6 traps that drain your paycheck before you even notice. In episode 2, we broke down the $50,000 fault line that rewires your financial brain. Today we're going after the biggest sacred cow in personal finance, the budget itself, and I'm going to show you the system that actually works. Let's get into it. Here's what nobody in finance wants to admit, because it would straight up destroy an entire industry built on spreadsheets, apps, and self-help books. Budgeting doesn't fail because you fail. Budgeting fails because it is completely incompatible with how the human brain actually makes decisions. The average person makes about 35,000 decisions every single day. Over 200 of those are financial micro-decisions. Should I buy this coffee? Should I take the toll road? Should I upsize this meal? Should I order delivery or cook? And every single one of those 200-plus decisions, a budget asks you to consciously evaluate against a category, a limit, and a running total you're supposed to just track in your head. That isn't a financial plan. That's a cognitive obstacle course, and your brain was never designed to run it. Here's what's actually happening in your skull when you try to stick to a budget. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational, planning part of your brain, is responsible for every budget decision. But your limbic system, the emotional survival part, is responsible for every impulse to spend. The prefrontal cortex is slow, deliberate, and runs on a finite fuel supply called cognitive bandwidth. The limbic system is fast, automatic, and literally never runs out of energy. Every time you say no to a purchase, your prefrontal cortex burns fuel. Every time you check your budget categories, it burns fuel. Every time you calculate whether you're under or over, it burns fuel. By 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, after a full day of work decisions, commute decisions, email decisions, and food decisions, your rational brain is basically running on fumes. And that's exactly when the limbic system takes over. That's the moment you say, forget it, I'll just order Uber Eats. That's the moment the Amazon cart you've been resisting for 3 days finally gets checked out. That's not weakness, that's just neuroscience. Your budget didn't fail at 8 a.m. when your willpower was fresh. It failed at 9 p.m. when you had nothing left in the tank. And it'll fail again tomorrow. And the day after that. And every day until you stop asking your brain to do something it was never built to do. Phase 1. The Willpower Illusion. Back in the late 90s, psychologist Roy Baumeister ran an experiment that honestly should have killed the budgeting industry right then and there. He put 2 groups of hungry people in a room with freshly baked chocolate chip cookies and a bowl of radishes. Group 1 got to eat the cookies. Group 2 had to resist the cookies and eat only the radishes. Afterward, both groups were given an unsolvable puzzle. The cookie group worked on that puzzle for an average of 19 minutes before throwing in the towel. But the radish group, the ones who'd spent all their willpower resisting cookies, gave up after just 8 minutes. Less than half the persistence. Why? Because the act of resisting had already drained them. Baumeister called this ego depletion. It's the scientific proof that willpower isn't some character trait. It's a depletable resource. Like a muscle that just gets weaker the more you use it in a single day. Now think about your budget app. It's basically a digital bowl of radishes. It requires you to resist cookies, the coffee, the clothes, the dinner out, dozens of times a day. It might work on January 1st when you're super motivated and well-rested. But by February 14th, you're exhausted. You're stressed from work. Your willpower muscle is totally burned out. You wouldn't expect someone to run a marathon at 10 p.m. after working construction all day. So why do you expect your brain to make perfect financial decisions at 10 p.m. after making 35,000 other choices? You are relying on a psychological mechanism that is guaranteed to fail you when you need it most. And the financial industry knows this. They know diets fail and they know budgets fail. But instead of giving you a system that works, they sell you a book on finding your why or tell you to just be more disciplined. Imagine trying to hold a door shut against a crowd of people. You can do it for a few minutes if you try really hard. Maybe you can even do it for an hour if you're strong. But you can't do it for 10 years. Eventually, you're going to get tired, and the door is going to swing open. That's why app developers literally plan for user churn after 3 months. And it's why people who manually budget only save an average of 5 to 8% of their income. Meanwhile, people who automate their finances save 15 to 20% without even thinking about it. The automated saver isn't a better person than the manual budgeter. They're not more moral. They don't have better character. They just have a better system. They're not fighting a 200-round boxing match every single day. They let a machine do the heavy lifting. It's the difference between trying to paddle upstream and just letting a motor do the work. Engineering beats willpower. Always, no exceptions. You can't willpower your way out of a broken system. And right now, if you're tracking every receipt, you are playing a game that is rigged against you. So what's the move? You stop budgeting and you start automating. Almost 100 years ago, a book called The Richest Man in Babylon introduced a concept called pay yourself first. It's the oldest, most boring, most effective wealth-building strategy in human history. It means the moment you get paid, before you pay your landlord, before you pay the credit card company, before you buy a sandwich, you pay your future self. But you don't do it manually. You let a robot do it. You set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to a separate savings or investment account. It happens on payday. The money leaves before your limbic system even knows it's there. You don't need willpower to save, because you never even saw the money. If you can only afford $50 a month, automate $50. An automated $50 beats a manual $500 every time, because the $50 actually happens. It runs in the background while you sleep, while you work, and while you're exhausted. It doesn't care if you had a bad day. It doesn't care if you're stressed, it just executes. Start small. The amount matters way less than the habit. You are building a machine. You were never supposed to save by trying harder. You were supposed to save by building smarter. Phase 2, the Latte Factor Lie. If you've ever watched a finance video, you've heard this garbage advice before. Stop buying a $5 coffee every day, and you'll be a millionaire. They run the math. $5 a day is $150 a month. Invest that at 8% for 40 years, and wow, you have $500,000. Okay, sure, mathematically it's correct. Psychologically, it's a complete disaster, because it focuses all of your attention, energy, and willpower on the smallest, most insignificant part of your financial life. It tells you to micromanage your joy while ignoring the massive structural leaks in your bank account. We call this the Big Three blind spot. For the average American household, 62% of their income goes to just 3 things: housing, transportation, and food. 62 cents of every single dollar you make is gone before you even wake up. Let's say you're paying $2,000 a month in rent. If you spend an hour negotiating a $100 reduction on your next lease, that's $200 a year, just like that. To save $200 on coffee, you'd have to say no to a latte 240 times. 240 separate, willpower-draining decisions just to equal one structural decision you made on a Tuesday afternoon. Let's talk about your car. The average new car payment right now is over $700 a month. If you buy a reliable used car and cut that payment in half, you just saved $4,200 a year. You'd have to skip 840 coffees to do that. Do you see how ridiculous this is? The financial industry wants you feeling guilty over a $5 drink so you don't realize you're getting absolutely crushed by your $700 car payment. And then there's food. Not the coffee, the actual groceries and takeout. The average American spends $800 a month on food. If you learn how to meal prep just 3 dinners a week instead of ordering DoorDash, you're saving $3,000 a year. You optimize those big 3 mares, and you've literally changed your financial trajectory without having to track every single penny. You don't need to clip coupons. You don't need to feel bad about Netflix. You make a handful of big structural decisions, and the math just works in your favor. This is what rich people do. They don't get rich by denying themselves a latte. They get rich by optimizing their largest expenses and then automating the difference. Because they know that willpower is a terrible investment strategy. So stop listening to the gurus who tell you to sweat the small stuff. Sweat the big stuff once, then go enjoy your coffee. When you focus on the coffee, you're not just wasting time, you're actively damaging your relationship with money. Because it leads directly to the most toxic part of budgeting. Phase 3, the shame spiral. Every time you fail a diet, the diet industry blames you. You just didn't want it enough. The budgeting industry does the exact same thing. When your spreadsheet turns red because you had to replace a blown tire, the app doesn't say, "Hey, emergencies happen." It says you failed your transportation category. And humans are really, really bad at handling perceived failure. When we feel like we're failing at something, we don't usually try harder. We avoid it. Psychologists call it the what the hell effect. If you're on a strict diet and you eat one slice of pizza, your brain doesn't say, "Okay, stop there." Your brain says, "Well, I already ruined it today. What the hell, let's eat the whole pie." Budgets trigger the exact same response. You overspend by $40 on groceries, your category turns red. You feel guilty, you feel like a failure. So what do? You say, "What the hell," and go drop $200 on clothes online, because the budget is already broken anyway. You just turned a $40 mistake into a $240 disaster. And the crazy part? It wasn't the groceries that caused the disaster, it was the guilt. The budget created the guilt, and the guilt created the binge. This is the shame spiral. Fail the category. Feel guilty. Avoid looking at the app. Binge spend to feel better. Feel more guilty. Rinse and repeat until you're completely broke and convinced you're just bad with money. Listen to me clearly, you are not bad with money. You are just trying to use a tool that is fundamentally designed to make you feel bad. In fact, a recent study showed that 43% of people felt significantly worse about their finances after they started budgeting. Because a traditional budget demands perfection. And the moment you aren't perfect, it weaponizes your own failure against you. When you feel like you're bad with money, it becomes your identity. You stop opening bank statements. You ignore your credit card balance. You live in a state of constant financial anxiety. Financial avoidance becomes your default operating system. And that is exactly where the credit card companies want you. Anxious, avoiding the truth, and paying interest. So how do we break the spiral? We don't need more discipline. We don't need a better tracking app. We don't need to want it more. We need a behavioral patch. We need to engineer a system that anticipates human weakness instead of punishing it. Let's start with the impulse buys. You don't need to ban yourself from buying things. You just need to insert a gap between the impulse and the action. Enter the 72-hour rule. Any non-essential purchase over $50, you have to wait 72 hours before you click buy. You put it in a notes app on your phone. You write it down. You let it sit in the cart. Research shows that if you just force a delay, over 60% of impulse purchases are abandoned. You didn't use willpower to say no. You just let the emotion fade. You let your rational prefrontal cortex come back online and say, "Wait, do I actually even want this?" And if after 72 hours you still really want it and you have the money, buy it guilt-free. Because it's no longer an impulse, it's a conscious decision. Next, we address the triggers. You spend money when you're stressed, exhausted, or hungry. Everyone does. So instead of trying to budget your way out of exhaustion, fix the trigger. If late-night scrolling leads to Amazon binges, delete the app off your phone at 8 p.m. If being hungry at 6 p.m. leads to a $40 DoorDash order, start keeping a $2 protein bar in your car. These aren't budgeting tips. They're behavioral hacks. You're not trying to be stronger. You're trying to be smarter. You're treating the actual root cause instead of just slapping a spreadsheet over the symptom. And once you stop the act of bleeding, once you break the shame spiral, that's when we build the machine. Phase 4, the automation blueprint. This is it. This is the entire system. It takes about 2 hours to set up and 0 hours to maintain. No spreadsheets, no categories, no tracking every penny. We call it the 3-account architecture. Account number 1, the bills account. This is a checking account dedicated exclusively to your fixed, predictable expenses. Rent, utilities, car payment, insurance, the big 3 stuff we talked about. You calculate exactly what these cost every month, add a 5% buffer for fluctuations, and you set it all to autopay. You never touch this account for spending. It's just a holding tank for the money that's already spoken for. Account number 2, the wealth account. This is your savings and investment hub. This is where the pay-yourself-first money goes. You pick a percentage, 5%, 10%, whatever you can actually swing, and you set an auto transfer to move that money here on the exact day you get paid. It builds your emergency fund first. Once that hits $10,000 or whatever your comfort number is, it overflows into index funds. You never see this money in your daily checking. It's totally off limits. Account number 3, the spending account. This is your main checking account. Your debit card is linked here. Here's the magic. After the bills transfer fires and the wealth transfer fires, whatever is left in this account is 100% yours. It is your guilt-free spending money. You want to buy a coffee? Buy the coffee. You want to buy concert tickets? Buy them. You don't need to check a category. You don't need to ask permission from an app. If the money is in this account, you can spend it. Period. Why does this work so flawlessly? Because it requires zero willpower. You've taken those 200 daily micro decisions and replaced them with one single automated system. You are no longer relying on your exhausted prefrontal cortex at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're relying on a machine. And machines don't get tired. They don't get stressed. They just execute. Let's say you're bringing home $5,500 a month after taxes. Day one, your paycheck hits. Instantly, 10%, that's $550, moves to your wealth account. Instantly, your big three expenses plus a buffer, let's call it $2,800, moves to your bills account. You're left with $2,150 in your spending account. That's about $500 a week for groceries, gas, fun, and whatever else. And you never have to think about whether you have enough for rent, because rent is already handled. You never have to feel guilty about saving, because savings is already handled. You are completely free. And while you're enjoying your life, that $550 a month in your wealth account is quietly compounding. In 5 years, it's almost $40,000. In 7 years, you cross that critical $50,000 fault line we talked about in episode 2. In 20 years, it's over $260,000. All because you spent 2 hours setting up an automated pipeline instead of trying to willpower your way to wealth. Math, not willpower. Engineering, not discipline. It's time to escape the shame spiral. Here's your exact action stack to get this done today. Step 1. Open 2 new accounts at your bank. Label one bills and one wealth. Your current checking becomes your spending. Step 2. Tally up your fixed monthly expenses. Rent, car, insurance, internet. Add a 5% buffer. Step 3. Decide your wealth percentage. If you can't do 10%, do 5%. If you can't do 5%, do $50. Step 4. Set up the automated transfers. The second your paycheck hits, the bills and wealth money must move automatically. Step 5. Put every single fixed expense on auto pay out of the bills account. Step 6. Delete your budgeting app. Seriously, delete it. You don't need it anymore. You have an architecture now. You've successfully insulated yourself against the 6 traps from episode 1. You've built the vehicle that will drive you straight across the $50,000 fault line from episode 2. You're working with your psychology now, not against it. The financial industry wants you stressed, guilty, and micromanaging pennies, so you'll keep buying their books and downloading their apps. They want you playing a rigged game. But now you have the cheat code. 3 accounts, 2 transfers, 0 willpower. If this finally made it click for you, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm this stuff actually matters, and it helps other people escape the budgeting trap. If you missed episode 1 or episode 2, I'm linking them right here on the screen. Episode 1 shows you the traps. Episode 2 shows you the destination. This video gave you the vehicle. Watch them all. And subscribe to the channel if you're ready to keep building. We're creating a real financial education here. The stuff they absolutely refuse to teach you in school. Because understanding how the game is played is the only way you can actually beat it. Step 2. List every fixed monthly expense. Rent, car payment, insurance, utilities, phone, internet, any subscriptions you're keeping. Just total them up. Take that total, add a 5% buffer for fluctuations, and that's your automatic transfer amount for the bills account. Step 3. Pick your wealth percentage. If you've never automated savings, start at 10% of your after-tax income. If that's too heavy, start at 5%. Just get it running. That wealth transfer is the absolute first transfer that happens on payday. Before bills, before spending, period. Step 4. Put every single fixed bill on auto pay straight out of the bills account. You never manually pay a bill again. Step 5. Let the wealth account build up 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. After that, redirect the flow into a low-cost index fund. And look, if your employer offers a 401k match, max that first. We covered this in episode 2. It's literal free money. Do not leave it on the table. Step 6. Delete your budget app. I'm dead serious. You don't need it. The architecture handles the allocation. The automation handles the execution. All that app was doing was making you feel guilty. Total setup time for all this? 1 afternoon, maybe 2 hours if you're taking your time. Total ongoing management time? 0. The system literally runs itself. This is what the finance industry doesn't want you to figure out. The actual system that builds wealth doesn't require their apps, their courses, or their micromanagement. It just takes 3 accounts, 2 automatic transfers, and the willingness to stop trusting willpower and start trusting engineering. Let's bring this all the way back. Budgeting doesn't work, and now you know exactly why. Phase 1. The Willpower Illusion. Budgeting runs on willpower, which is a finite resource. By evening, you're running on fumes and the budget breaks. Every single time. Manual budgeters save 5 to 8%. Automated savers save 15 to 20%. Engineering beats discipline. Phase 2. The Latte Factor Lie. They told you to stop buying coffee. The real math says to optimize the big three: housing, transportation, food, which make up 62% of your spending. One big decision on those saves you 7 times more than 365 days of skipping your latte. Phase 3. The shame spiral. Budgets are basically failure frameworks. One overspend triggers the what the hell effect, which leads straight to guilt, avoidance, and binge spending. 43% of people who quit a budget actually feel worse about their finances than when they started. Phase 4. The automation blueprint. The 3-account architecture replaces 200 daily financial decisions with one single monthly automation. $500 a month automated into an index fund becomes $260,000 in 20 years. No willpower required. In episode 1, we showed you the 6 invisible traps draining your paycheck: the raise thief, the convenience tax, the social mirror. In episode 2, we broke down the $50,000 fault line, the exact threshold where your brain stops running a survival program and starts building wealth. Today, we gave you the actual system that gets you there. Not a budget, not an app, not a spreadsheet. An architecture, one that actually works with your psychology instead of constantly fighting it. The traps from episode 1 won't catch you if your money is already allocated before you even have a chance to make a bad decision. And crossing that $50,000 fault line isn't a fantasy if money is moving into your wealth account every single month automatically. These 3 episodes aren't just YouTube videos. They're a complete financial operating system. Episode 1 diagnoses the disease. Episode 2 shows you the destination. Episode 3 gives you the vehicle. The only thing left to do is turn the key. Before you click off this video, here's your complete action stack. 1. Open 2 additional accounts today. Label them Bills and Wealth. Total time, 10 minutes. 2. Calculate your fixed expenses. Set up the auto transfer to bills with a 5% buffer. Total time, 20 minutes. 3. Decide your wealth percentage. Set the auto transfer to fire on payday. Total time, 10 minutes. 4. Implement the 72-hour rule for anything over $50. Write it on a sticky note and slap it on your credit card. 5. Audit your big 3 this month. Can you refinance? Can you lower your transportation costs? Can you meal prep just 3 times a week? 6. Delete the budget app. Seriously, trash it. The architecture handles everything the app was pretending to do. If this completely changed how you think about budgeting, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm this stuff matters, and it helps other people escape the willpower trap. If you missed episode 1 or episode 2, they're linked right here. Watch them in order. Subscribe if you want to keep going. We're building a real financial education here. The exact stuff no school ever bothered to teach you. Because understanding how the game actually works is the only way you can beat it. I'm Mason. I'll catch you in the next one.